I'm okay because I don't let it in, because the only opinion that matters is my opinion. I know I'm not a stuck-up English snob, so that can't hurt me, because if it did, I wouldn't be sharing it with you.
You mentioned something about leaning into the feelings until you no longer need to feel them, or until they go away.
Feel the feeling until it no longer requires to be felt.
Why should we do that? So give me an example of a feeling.
So let's imagine you and your ex-wife are not getting on, and you have a feeling of rage about the fact that she's trying to get your kid to call the new guy daddy, and she's blocking you out, and you feel so angry. You think, well, I mustn't feel angry, you know, she's doing it for the interest of my kid, and so I just drink the anger, and I drink the anger. And you see, with a feeling, it's the most real thing you have. A feeling is like a little kid in a class going, notice me, I'm over here. And if you don't, they get more and more out of control. And so when you don't acknowledge your feelings, they regroup, and they regroup until they become outrage, rage coming out. And then suddenly they go a bit crazy in the car park of a store or the line of a store, because the mind says, I've got all this rage, wants to come out. Someone just cut into the line, take it out on them. And it's so ineffective, because I have something I call AAA, which is be aware of your feeling. Most people have no idea what they feel. They go, I shouldn't feel jealous. I shouldn't feel envious. I shouldn't be furious with this kid who's keeping me up all night. So they're not aware of it. They certainly can't accept it, and they never get to articulate it. But if you can say, you know, my wife's a good person, but actually I'm furious with what she's doing. It really hurts my feelings. That's why group therapy in places like AA, the good thing is you get to say, sometimes I could quite cheerfully hurt my wife. I'm not going to, but I feel like it. But, oh yeah, I feel like that too. Because when you can express your feeling, it goes away. It goes away immediately.
When
but
you
when
communicate
it, even to yourself. So if your mother-in-law is the absolute bitch from hell, and you can't say, by the way, Dorothy, you are the most horrible mother-in-law in the world, but you just go and shut yourself in the bathroom, turn on the taps, flush the toilet, and say, Dorothy is a really unpleasant mother-in-law. And one of my...
You feel better.
Yeah, you feel so much better because you're not saying it to them. It's like feelings are like gas. They're in or they're out, and they hurt much more when you keep them in. And you want to let them out. Maybe gas, I mean, obviously right in the middle of a meeting, but when you keep stuff in, it causes you pain. And one of my amazing therapists said, my mother-in-law really was the mother-in-law from hell. And I could never say anything because my husband was the golden boy. But after I trained with her, I started to say, you know, Brenda, you're a really unhappy person, and I know you're trying to hurt my feelings, but I just feel so bad. And Brenda finally said to me, you know, I've been bulimic for 32 years. Nobody knows. Could you help me? She completely transformed that woman in 2 sessions, never been bulimic since. And actually, she likes me more than her son now.
Wow.
I'm now the daughter-in-law from heaven. I've got a big halo.
Wow.
But when we keep everything in, it does so much damage. It's like with little kids, they get angry and we shout at them. They go, oh, my anger makes you angry, and I'm not allowed to be angry. I'm not allowed to say something hurt me. And all psychiatrists will tell you that and if you want to be sorted out, here's something you must do. Express your hurt as close to the event that hurt you happening as possible. You can't say to your dad, you know, 20 years I asked for a bike and you got me a skateboard. I didn't want that. They go, what? I worked nights to buy you that bike. You can't get any resolution after 10 years or 20 years. But when you can say to your friend, look, I love you, you're my friend, but it really hurt me when you didn't even turn up to my wedding, and I still had to pay for all of that, and you didn't call, and it hurt me. I still love you, but you hurt my feelings. Then it's gone. But when you keep it in, it doesn't. When you say to the friend, you make me feel so angry, well, you make me feel angry. I didn't come to your wedding because your guest list, that was extortionate, asking for all this stuff. I mean, I'm not Bank of America, and I didn't want to buy that stuff. But you can't get resolution. But when you say, I was hurt when, or I felt hurt by, and you can say it to a wall, you can say it to a force, you can say it to a mirror.
You can write it down.
It's not for the other person. It's good to say it because it's out then. And then it goes away. It's the most wonderful thing. It goes away. And then everything is so different.
Yeah, it's interesting because over the last 2 years, specifically, it's been magnified with men in the media who have created all these, you know, killings, shootings.
Yeah, I know.
Racial marches, political distress, you know, domestic violence. All these things have been happening, and it's been magnified over the last couple of years, right? With Me Too and Time's Up and everything. And as a society, when men are unable to express or communicate themselves, or they're going to be known as weak or soft or whatever the word is, it's hard for them to express themselves in any other way except for this blow up.
Yeah, especially when you say this, like, stop acting like a girl. You're running like a girl.
Exactly.
You're acting like a girl.
Don't be a wuss. Don't be this. Don't be. It's like less than their manhood or something.
Yeah, of course.
And there's no wonder why, if it's not acceptable for men to express themselves in this way, it's hard for them to just be stoic constantly. I'm not saying it's okay what they've done or to act out, but I think society in general needs to have a big group hug.
Sure.
And let it out in a way where it's more acceptable to express ourselves.
And also, whenever anyone does anything wrong, we go, what's wrong with you? We should say, what happened to you? What happened to you? And they'll go, well, you know, my mom always said she didn't want a boy, she wanted a girl, and I've been brought up. I'll give you an example. I had a city trader as a client who really had problems trading. And his boss said, you know, he's the best trader, but he's so nervous. And when I worked with him, he was saying that when he was a kid, his parents had 2 girls and then him. And he would smash his Tonka toys and they go, what's wrong with you? Look at your sisters just combing their doll's hair and they're so good. And why are you so aggressive? And a 4-year-old can't go, well, because I have something called testosterone and they don't. And I'm designed to run and jump and hunt and fish. And I got to learn what to do with aggression. Smashing my cars together is good for me. He didn't. A 4-year-old doesn't have anything because they live in the world of they just live in a world of feeling, not logic. And he said, I never realized, I spent my whole life thinking something's wrong with me because my parents would say everything conversation, what's wrong with you? Look how neat you. Says they don't get peas on the floor when they eat. And he said, I heard it every day until I formed a belief something's wrong with me. He didn't date women because he thought, well, I should be like one, but I want to be like a man. And that session totally turned him around. He said it was like someone had sprayed him with pheromones because he went out that night and women were attaching themselves to him like a magnet. But he just got rid of the feeling of something's wrong with me. Because most people do walk around going, something's wrong with me, I'm just majorly messed up. And you can't heal.
And no one understands me, no one gets me.
And I don't understand me. And if I don't understand me, how can you?
And why should I even be here?
Yeah, because you can't heal what you can't understand. And so all the treating the symptom is like putting a Band-Aid on an infection. It doesn't, well, when you understand it, you can totally change your perception of what it is, because events actually don't affect you, but the meaning you attach to them does.
The story we tell ourselves about
the story. And that's, I love that, because when I just got all my Stevie Awards, it's like, oh, I feel like I've got an Oscar. And that's good, because I take client stories and I give them a happy ending. Always give them a happy ending. But then you have to understand a bit more of psychology, because humans are hardwired to recreate what they know. We like what's familiar, even if that's very, if it's very bad. If I've never had money and I win the lottery, I'm going to get rid of it. Or if I've never had love and you love me, I'm going to reject you because it's so unfamiliar. If I've had a dad who calls me an idiot and worthless, guess what kind of guy I like? That's it. Because when I meet them, I go, oh, I feel like I've known this guy my whole life. We just clicked. And they think, oh my God, it's because he's my dad. But I've been sleeping with him for 6 months. I don't know what to do with that now. Because we are wired to like what is familiar and to resist what's unfamiliar. And that's what kept us alive. When we lived in walled cities, we didn't go, I'm a bit bored with this group. I think I'll go outside the walled city and find another tribe, because they might have killed you. Mm-hmm. So we have this wiring that says, run towards what's familiar and run away from what's unfamiliar. But the very good news is you can make anything familiar. And the most important thing to make familiar is praising yourself. That's, if you could just do that, that in itself would change your entire life.
How do you praise yourself?
Well, you get up in the morning and go, I'm a good person. I have a skill. I have a talent. I have something to offer the world. I'm here for a reason. You look in the mirror and go, oh, there you are. You're a good person. You've got a good heart. You know, the most important way to answer that question is this. What did you always want your dad to tell you, even if you never had a dad? If you had a dad, a good dad, what would he have said? What would your mum have said? What would a nice teacher have said to you? And it would be something like this. I'm proud of you. You're a good son. I'm so glad I'm your dad. How lucky I got to have you. And a teacher would say, you're such a smart kid. What a joy it is to teach you because you're smart. And we all want to hear the same stuff. I love you. I'm proud of you. You're interesting. You're a great company. Nobody needs to hear I'm the best dentist in Beverly Hills, because that doesn't work. It's emotions. And many of my clients, their mother might be dead, but they're still trying to get her to approve of them.
Wow.
Dad's living in another country, but they're still working to make him like them. And, you know, the most important thing is you like you. So whatever you wanted to hear, say it to yourself, because your mind doesn't even know that it's coming. And also it doesn't care. Your mind doesn't care if what you tell it is right or wrong, or true or false, or even if it's good or bad, it lets it in like chapstick on your lips. Your lips don't go, is this organic, fair trade? Just lets it in. It needs a bit of nourishment. And we need some nourishment, and words are very nourishing. And there is actually nothing on the planet that will raise your self-esteem like praise. But self-praise is better, because if I said to you, I just adore you, you're amazing. By the way, you know, can you do this and this and this? I've manipulated you. But if I say it to myself, my mind knows there's no manipulation, and the mind likes repetition. And when you say it every day, your mind kind of goes, oh yeah, here you go again with that praise. You say it every day, must be true, and now it sinks in. The problem is if you criticize yourself every day, it says the same thing.
That sinks in as well, and that hurts you. It's interesting because, you know, the big talents that commit suicide or die, you know, who's the comedian? Robin Williams. Yeah, Robin Williams, Amy Winehouse, all these individuals who have the world praising them, but they weren't able to praise themselves.
Yeah, they don't let it in.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if everyone else acknowledges you.
Yeah.
It does matter, but you have to be willing to acknowledge yourself as well, right?
And the familiar, unfamiliar, if praise is unfamiliar but criticism is familiar, and you say to someone like Robin Williams, oh my God, that last show was funny, he goes, didn't you notice? I've left out the best. I fluffed a word. It wasn't as good as the one before. So if you're not used to praise, you'll reject it. And if you're used to criticism, you'll add it in. Because we do what's familiar. So if we say to someone, I love your book, they go, oh, actually, it's not that good. The other one is much. I love your top. Oh, I got it in a car boot sale. It's 5 years. I've got a hole in it. So if we haven't got praise, we actually reject it. And you just have to say to yourself, I'm going to make this familiar. I'm going to praise myself every day. It might feel weird, but I'll keep doing it. It's a bit like running. You know, running isn't familiar, especially around Beverly Hills. But if you put your shoes on and go for a run on concrete, eventually it becomes familiar, and then you like it. I mean, sticking a lens in your eye, that's the weirdest thing.
Very unfamiliar.
The first few times, like, oh my God, I'm carrying in my eye like that. And then after a while, you can do it almost without thinking, because you get used to it. You can make anything familiar or unfamiliar. And my advice to everyone is look at your bad habits and make them unfamiliar. And look at what you want, especially praise, and make it familiar, more so because if you've got a startup or you're working for yourself, the days of a boss going, well done, good job, pat on the back are over. And you have a praise muscle, and no one's going to build it up except for you. But if you build it up, it makes you bulletproof.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm so glad you're talking about this, because we have a similar philosophy, and a lot of people that come to me are afraid of certain things. And at an early age, I was afraid of a lot of things. I was afraid to talk to girls. As a 12-year-old, I was afraid of speaking in public. I was afraid of dancing. I was afraid of all these things, right? And I got so sick and tired of being afraid that I just said, I'm going to give myself a challenge. Every day, you know, when I was afraid of girls, I was like, every time I see a girl that gives me butterflies, I'm going to go up to them and start a conversation. And it's terrifying. And I'm sweating and I'm stumbling over my words. And people rejected me the first few times, but I just kept doing it until a girl said, hi, nice to see you. And you get a little confidence until, you know, by the end of the summer, when I was a teenager, it was like every girl was talking to me.
Of course.
And I tell people, you got to embrace the fear until the fear disappears. And it's similar with the feelings. Like, you've got to live in the feelings until What would you say?
Feel the feeling
Feel the
that no
feelings.
longer requires to be felt.
That's great.
Because what you're really describing so eloquently is you had a massive fear of rejection, talking to girls, speaking in public, asking...
Feeling enough.
Yeah, someone asking to employ you or pay you. So we have a great fear of rejection, which is not surprising, because when we're born, we have two drivers: find connection, avoid rejection. After all, if a mother rejects a child, if a lion rejects the cub, it's not going to be adopted, it will die. Yeah, or it just starves to death. And so we know innately that our survival on the planet is linked to not being rejected. And not that long ago, you would have died from rejection. You know, in 1,000 years ago, when they banished you outside the walls of the city, or you marooned a difficult sailor, or you cast someone out of the community, you pretty much died. There was nothing out there but purgatory. So we have a wiring that says rejection will kill me. And that's why you had the fear. But when you can dialogue with the other, go, no, it feels like it will kill me. It can't kill me, because no girl can reject me unless I give her my permission.
Right, give them my power.
You can't reject me unless I agree with everything. I don't like you because you got short hair. I don't like your shirt. I don't like you because you're white, not white, tall, short, glasses, not. But when you say you can't reject me, I can't be rejected, because the only person you can reject me is me. You can talk to girls realizing, even if they say, no, you're not my type, I'm with someone, no thanks, or even, ooh, not no, they can only reject you if you let that in. And we look at someone like James Corden, who's certainly not gorgeous, but women love him because he's funny.
So funny.
So funny.
Love
and,
that guy.
you know, we like warm people. You know, the packaging is all very nice. But lots of people have a great packaging, a great wrapper, and but they're unhappy. And so our greatest fear is to be rejected. But the truth is, in 2018, you could live in this apartment, have Amazon deliver your groceries, never see a soul, and you probably live until you're 106.
Yeah.
Wouldn't advise it, but we don't die of rejection anymore, but we still feel like we will. And all schools should be teaching kids, you cannot be rejected. You can ask for a pay rise, you can ask for crowdfunding, you can go to someone and go, here's my idea, you can write a book, speak in public. Because I work with a lot of actors who say, I'm so scared of rejection. I'm like, well, how are you going to be an actor then?
Because you're supposed to be rejected
so
all the time.
well, you and I write books. For everyone who loves it, there's going to be the odd person who goes, I hate this book and I hate that writer too. But we don't let it in. We have to laugh about it. When you give a YouTube talk, I mean, one of my talks has got like 3 million views, and there's a few in there going, I hate her, stuck-up English snob. But they don't know me, because that's not me at all. But I don't go, oh my God, I can never write another book. I'm okay because I don't let it in, because the only opinion that matters is my opinion. I know I'm not a stuck-up English snob, so that can't hurt me. Because if it did, I wouldn't be sharing it with you.
If you want to learn more about how to master your mind, check out this next video right here.
We're all faced with great opportunities brilliantly disguised as impossible situations, and we are at that point, at that nexus point in our evolution as a species. So then you don't try to fix that. That's never going to work. What you do